Well, what about you? Couldn't get out in the boat today, so I'm actually down. It's quite late on. It'll be about, yeah, to be fair, it's probably going to be about an hour and a half until the sun goes down anyway, but I'm down to the local market here just to do a bit of shore fishing, so I'll get set up and then I'll show you what the crack is, what rigs I'm using, and honestly, like, the rods and all I'm using are like really cheap rods that you pick up for like combos and stuff, because I don't really do that much shore fishing, but we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting anything, so I'll be surprised. Right, see you in a minute. Right, see what's happening here. Look, whoever does these forecasts is a bit of a joke, I'm not gonna lie. It said it was supposed to die down, it's obviously not. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you what I'm baiting up here. See if I can get this camera sitting still. So I've got a few different baits here. I've got this frozen black lug. I've actually had this in the freezer probably far too long, but I'm thinking I might as well try and give it a go and wrap it up with some mackerel. I've got some bluey here as well actually, so I might use some of it. It's still a bit frozen because I literally only lifted it out, but I've got a nice wee tool here actually called a bait mate. It's so much handier for baiting up whenever you're doing combination baits. So let's see how this goes here. I'm just going to at least try and take a bit of a fillet off this frozen bluey. So that we can wrap it up. It'll thaw out anyway whenever it's in the water. Might actually be a wee bit easier to bait this up the way it is, but I'm just gonna slice it up a wee bit. I'll get a couple of these black lug, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna whip the bluey on. So I'm just gonna whip this on roughly, and what I'll do is I'll come behind it and I'll put the hook on. Right, so this is actually a pennel. I'm using a Pulley Pennel. So take that pennel out of the way. And what we're going to do is, we've got our hook sitting, it's over the bait, shut it down a wee bit. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll be honest, someone will say I'm doing it wrong, but as long as the hook is proud, it should be fine. So again, just start whipping this bait onto the bait mate. Get as much scent out as possible. Don't be worrying about whipping it on or using too much, it'll be fine. As long as you get plenty of elastic. What I'll do is I'll get the end of that worm off so that this is all nice and just slide it off like that. And we've got our, I can get my my scissors and stuff here. If I can find them. God knows where they are. Anyway, I can trim that so that the hook is proud. Right. And then slide my panel down. I'll give it a 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just nip it into the end of it, and there we'll get a nice wee presentable bait. Right, I'll get that chucked out and then I'll get back to you. Right, so got a bait out. I've got one out. I'm going to make up another one here. It's going to be hard to tell the bites because there's quite a bit of swell out there at the minute. I'll just have to keep an eye on it, see what happens. I'll just wait for the rod to bend completely over, to be honest. But yeah, what looks like a bite is probably not, you know. It's quite rocky ground about here too, so I'm using it's a Pulley Pennel, like I said, and I'm also using it's actually a combination of 2 bits and pieces from Gemini. So I'll show you the rig here. So it's actually got both a Splashdown. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's Gemini Splashdown, and then because it's really rocky, I'm hooking up a Gemini rotting bottom setup. So what you do is essentially you tie a weaker link onto the back of this clip here, this angled clip, and you tie the other side to your weight, and then you hook your weight on, you close that up, and whenever it splashes down, it hits down, both your hook comes out and also the rotten bottom setup actually opens up, and then your lead's just free to sit in the bottom. And it just means if you hook into a fish and your weight's caught, you'll be able to keep your fish. You might lose your weight, but sure, that's normal fishing in rocky ground. So what I'll do is I'll get another bait put out, and then I'll show you how this rotten bottom setup works whenever it gets sorted. So you'll see this in the background. This is just a wee handle I have, it's like a wee pulling trolley. It just makes everything handy. You can just stick everything in it, your rods and everything. So we've got two rods out now, 2 baits. They're just trickling about in the tide there at the minute, trying to find a spot to hold, and then hopefully we'll wait and see what happens here. But I don't know whether you can see this in the background here, but you can see this sort of swell. It wasn't meant to be like this. I was going to go out in the boat, and I'm glad I didn't. You know, you have to be safe. So the forecast said it was going to die down, but obviously it hasn't. We'll see what happens here. See if we can pick out a fish. There might be something nibbling on this right hand rod here. Kind of see those little bending bits, but that's just the swell coming in. Not gonna lie, it's getting a bit cold too. It is 20 past 8, and I'm not gonna lie, I forgot my headlamp and everything here. Back to you. See what happens whenever one of these rods hoops over. I'll switch the camera on again. I think there's a bite developing on this left hand rod. It's hit hard quite a couple of times. Just waiting to see what happens. Hey now. it's knocking, but not in sync with the waves. We'll see what happens here. It could just be crabs, like, to be honest. But who knows? In the meantime, I'm going to stand here and eat my wine gums. Yeah, it said it was supposed to be, you'll not be able to see this, but it's blue. But it's 6 to 8 mile an hour winds, which this is definitely not. High tide's at 9:30. We're sitting at about 8:30 here at the moment, so we'll see how it goes here. Once it gets dark, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to pick it up with the filming and stuff, because like I say, I forgot my head torch. I'll try my best. We'll see what happens. I've got a bait sitting here. What I'll do actually is I'll show you. I'll spare one of these rigs. I'll see about digging it out and showing you how it works. Make sure you put your rigs in rig wallets, because it's a nightmare to try and untangle things whenever you just put them in bags, unless you use those proper like twists, which I don't. Well, not yet, at least, anyway. See, I don't want to spend too much money on like shore fishing whenever I usually do boat fishing anyway, and it's only whenever I can't get out in a boat that I tend to come out here. Right, anyway, so what I've got is it's like 20 pound mono, but my rig body is my rig body's 60 pound. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a uni knot onto this little, I'll turn this camera down actually. See, right, so we've got this little linking clip set up. This is the breakaway. It has a little bit that just sort of flops around. I've got my 20 pound line. You want it strong enough so that it'll still pull out if it's just stuck a wee bit, but if it pulls too much it'll just break off. Anyway, so I'm going to tie a uni knot around this little link, and the wind is going to be difficult. Don't forget to wet your line. And then slide it all the way up so that it's tied on to the bottom of the clip, and then we get our weight and we tie on to the loop of the weight. Yeah. So again, just a uni knot, because this is just this isn't for any kind of strength at all, really. You know, the strength is in the way that the clip holds it, and I'll show you that in a wee second. Right, so I'll tie another uni knot onto this, onto the weight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then slide that up. Alright, so now we've got the clip on the weight. What we're going to do is we're going to feed the loose end of the clip through the weight, and then it folds over. I'll try and take a few pictures of this so that you can see it in detail, but there's a little like plastic piece that it pushes into like that, and that is essentially what holds your up and bottom setup. So whenever it hits the water, it doesn't automatically hit whenever the weight hits. It actually hits whenever this little gadget, and then it just drops like that. The up and bottom setups, it's basically a similar sort of idea. I'll get a hook out here, I'll show you. So we've got our weight, got a rotten bottom set up. Rotten bottom clip, it goes in with a little plastic doofer, dodgy thing, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Right, and then we've got a rotten bottom clip. Now, you can fiddle away with these trying to put the hook in and then trying to push it down, but I always find with the baiting up that if you just put it in, you can just hook it in through that little gap, and then that'll just sit like that until your weight or your rig hits the water, and that just bounces up with the weight of the lead and that pops off. And that's essentially it. Now, what I found is you can actually get a really good cast with this because it's all tied down nice and tight. Whereas whenever you're fishing like traditional sort of 2-hook flapper rigs, they're terrible for not being able to get a very large distance. So if you can make clip down rigs, you'll do yourself a favour. I think there might be something on this rod here. I'm going to try and give it a reel in. If it's not, I'll swap the bait round. I've got one that's pre-made up hanging on my little rod stand here. Very light. The lead might have even broke off this. Not sure what's going on. It's way too light. So it looks like whatever's happened hasn't really touched the bait, but it must just be with the thrashing about. The lead has actually just come off, so it's kind of done its job in a way, but I don't know whether it was just flopping around in the waves or not. So I'll see. That bait's actually still okay, so I might just chuck it back out again. I'll get another weight tied on. In fact, because I made this one, I'll just stick this one on. This is also the benefit. A lot of people don't make their pulley rigs with clips. You see, I can clip that off this one, clip it onto the new one, or clip on a new bait, and then get this all hooked together. Like I say, you can just clip that in with a splashdown, and that's that all nice and streamlined. I'll get this chucked out. Again, I've lost the lead, but I still got my rig body back. That just looks like it's been getting chucked about in the waves, so what I'll do is I'll cast it a wee bit more in towards the beach and we'll see what happens here. I've got one more bait out here anyway, we'll see how it goes. Get another top and bottom put on. Again, I probably shouldn't even use my good gripper lids. You should probably be using all your old dud lids, you know what I mean? But I was hoping that the grippers might actually just hold into the bottom, to try and hold it into one place with all this swell and stuff that's going on. Again, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but with a hook, you can just hook into the splashdown, and that's it, all sort of nice and streamlined. I'll give that a chuck over into the distance here, we'll see how it goes. The last one there's not a gripper lid, so it's just going to roll until it finds a hole. Here's what I mean. I cast that way out there, and it's already rolling towards me because of the swell. That's why I was trying to use the gripper rods, or the gripper rods. I'm not putting carpet down here. The gripper weights, because it was actually holding. But see what happens here. Right, so I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm beat. The conditions here aren't getting any better, like the forecast, and I forgot my head torch and everything, so what I'll do is I'll fish these two baits out, I'll see how it goes, and then if I get anything, I'll switch the camera back on. If not, then thanks very much for tuning in again. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll speak to you later. Cheers, all the best.